All right. My contemplation this morning is on Africa as a whole. I was looking at the data, and I've talked about this at different events, and it's a cause of concern for me for Africa in general. The fact that our productivity level is very, very low. I mean, very, very low, and I'll explain why. So if you look at Netherlands, the population of Netherlands is about 17 million, less than 20 million at least, less than 20 million. Not up to Lagos State actually. African population is about 1.4 billion. Now, as at 2023, according to Trade Map, and I need to quote the source of my data because that's the International Trade Center, because one of the video I did the last time, I think the guy must be from South Africa. I posted that South Africa export is almost 100% up, more than Nigerian export, and it came for me. And he said I went to Jackpa. I want to go to South Africa. That's why I'm saying that. And he said because they are losing job in South Africa. What many people don't understand is that. So I was explaining. I mean, this is a digression before I go to the main conversation. I was explaining that look, it's possible that you are losing job in South Africa and your export is growing. The question you should ask is, where are the people losing job and which sector contribute to export? So I give an example of oil and gas. Oil and gas does not need a lot of staff, but oil and gas export volume is huge. A typical example is Nigeria. Agric need a lot of staff, a lot of manpower, but agric export in Nigeria is very low, and the same all over the world. So that a sector is losing job, that people are losing job because of an issue in a sector, does not mean the export volume of the country is going down, because it's possible that that sector does not even contribute significantly to export volume. But that's by the way of digression. So whenever I have a data now, I'll quote the source, because he said that he doesn't believe in data. Where did I get data from? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so my data is from International Trade Center, Trade Map. You can always check it up online. African export, total African export is about 640 billion. 640 billion. Total Africa. Netherlands export is about 740 billion. Netherlands is a small country with a population of about 17, 18 million people, less than 20 million people, but exporting at a volume more than African export put together, over 1.4 billion people. That's mind-boggling. So the question we need to ask ourselves is why? And I'm interested in what Netherlands is doing right that we can learn from. You know, that's why I said the other time that my video, I think it was yesterday, that what Dr. Imogu Oduwole was trying to do, giving a target, a very audacious goal as far as export is concerned in Africa, is good. We must be visionary. I mean, if a small country is doing this much, that's to tell you that when you now look at it, export per capita, you know that it's not, you can't compare. Our export per capita, it will be like giant and dwarf. Because when you look at our population and the volume of what we are exporting, and their population and what they are exporting. And when you look at the Prime Minister of Netherlands, I mean, there was a video that went viral the other time. There was the Prime Minister, I think, was going to Babizé. From there, we go to his school to teach and then go to his office. And it was on the street of Amsterdam. And an African, I think from Sierra Leone, saw him and was excited. I had to did a selfie with him or did a video with him and was posting it online that, look, can you imagine this Prime Minister on the road? But you don't see that in Africa. You don't see that in Africa. Africa is not making so much money. Our economy is very low, but we just spend money on so many things. So let's look at the reason why. Number one, this country, and this is what I believe we can learn from Netherlands, this country invests massively in infrastructure for port. So Rotterdam Port, for example, one of the largest ports in Europe. Because if you are going to trade, then you need to have a port that you are going to use to bring in the goods and take it out. You know, I don't know why Africa is not taking trade very seriously, really. Because when I look at President Trump inaugurated yesterday. President Trump plan for trade. Trade space is going to be very interesting. You're going to see a lot of disruption. But what I discovered about this president is he doesn't joke with their strength and power. Because the US is the largest importer in the world. So they know that they can use tariff to get what they want. Different people have different thought on Trump's disposition to a lot of things, but I'm just looking at it purely from trade perspective. So this country, Netherlands, have very massive ports, facilitating efficient handling of transportation, particularly movement of container in Europe. Very important, very important. But also have a streamlined custom process to facilitate trade. So it reduces delay and cost at the port, boosting port efficiency. Boosting port efficiency. Number one, so infrastructure was one of the major issue of things helping this country. Number two, Netherlands is one of the largest exporters of agri-produce. Sometimes, which is why we need to be balanced. And the reason is because when we talk sometimes, we talk about the fact that we need to add value, which is good. But the fact is that we also can export commodities. US export a lot of commodities and US add a lot of value. Same for Netherlands. Netherlands export a lot of commodity and a lot of value. Netherlands is the largest exporter of agri-commodity globally. From flowers to dairy products to meat to processed food, despite its small size. They export a lot of high-value specialized export. Dairy, meat, flour, processed food, high-value specialized export. Semiconductor, pharmaceuticals, electronics, advanced machinery, high-value specialized export. High-value specialized export with a lot of money per unit. High-value specialized export. So number one, they have very good infrastructure. Number two, high-value specialized export. Number three, diversify economy. From agricultural products to industrial machineries to chemicals. But Africa, on the other hand, our export in Africa is as assisted by nature. That means if nature did not assist, our export will be very low. Export of Africa is as assisted by nature. What do we export? Crude oil. Find it difficult to add value to it. What do we export? Minerals, copper, lithium, a lot of minerals. African export is assisted by nature. What do we export? Agro commodities. These products are very, very cheap in price. Let me give an example. If I export, if I look at the cocoa beans market, total value of cocoa beans market, maybe about $10-11 billion, cocoa beans. So that means no matter the amount, we produce large amount of cocoa beans, we are playing within $10 billion market. One of the components of value-added cocoa beans, chocolate, over $30 billion. One, we're talking about cocoa butter, cocoa cake, cosmetics, and a number of other areas where they use cocoa. I'm talking about just chocolate alone, over 30 billion. So who is making money? Who is making money? The people exporting raw only? Because when you look at African export, you notice African import is diversified. We call it import different things. But African export is concentrated in one area or in few areas. So number one, they have a lot of infrastructure. Number two, they export high value export. Number three, diversify economy. Now, they also leverage EU free trade agreement, the single market, the custom union, the preferential treatment. Africa have this, but we have not taken advantage of it. I've not taken advantage of it. Now, so I'm just looking at why is it that Netherlands, as small as it is, this country is exporting so massively, but Nigeria, Africa is doing such a small export. This country have export-oriented policy, actively promoting export, such as giving subsidies to exporters, actively promoting export, such as giving export credit insurance to exporters, actively promoting export, such as supporting different trade missions around the world. Different trade missions. In Africa, we have very restrictive policy. We don't even want to trade with ourselves. Very weak infrastructure. Very high level of corruption. Hindering growth. Someone is in government rather than supporting exporters, export to drive in foreign and reduce effect, because inflation has impoverished a lot of Africans. And our poverty is imported through imported inflation because of exchange rate differentials. High exchange rate. We can drive down this exchange rate by increasing our export. And Netherlands is a good example. Netherlands is very serious about export. In Nigeria, we used to have a particular subsidy to support export. EEG is moribund. The one that the last administration did on export RT200 has been stopped. So practically, with high level of inflation affecting manufacturers, we have no support, little or no support to drive export. This is a challenge for the new Minister of Trade. To be able to do something that if Netherlands export is 15% more than the whole of African put together, that for me is a cause of concern, because with such a population doing so much, it's sort of concern. Very sort of concern. This is my contemplation this morning. Drop your thoughts in the comment. What do you think about this? The fact that a 17 million people in a very small country is doing much more export, more than the whole of Africa, 1.4 billion people put together. Thank you very much for joining me this morning, for watching this video. Please drop your comment and see you in the next video. Bye for now.